From Fox 8 Studios in New Orleans, welcome into Overtime, the podcast for all things sports, all things Louisiana, and everything in between. Alongside Sean Fazende, I am Chris Hagan. Today, we are talking about an improbable Saints win over the Buccaneers, but a costly Saints win over the Buccaneers. But before we get into all of that, a quick request and reminder, please subscribe to the podcast, also rate and review it, and tell your friends to help us spread the word. And if you want to get in touch with us, hit us up on the Final Play app with the Final Word feature. We are already seeing some of your questions, and we will address at least one of them in today's show. Sean, let's get into it. It's a big win against the Bucs, an important win when it's a division opponent like that and the defending Super Bowl champs, but you got to start with Jameis Winston here. All signs point to a significant knee injury for him. How did the Saints weather this going forward? Because there is still a lot of football left to be played, 10 games.
You know, we were talking before the podcast, it just dawned on me. Sean Payton has never had to wake up on a Monday morning after a game and say, I don't have my starting quarterback for the rest of the season. That is very possible. He's going to find that out at some point. If not the entire season, maybe a significant portion of the rest of the season. Now, there are, where are we at in the season? 10 games left?
Yeah, 10 games left.
Yeah, I got thrown off with the 17 game there. So 10 games left, and you do not have Jameis Winston, who was a work in progress, but I think you started to feel a little bit better about where he was getting in his development. I don't know if he was going to reach the top of his ceiling within this offense, but he was, at least the arrow was pointing in that direction. In fact, in this game, I thought he had caught rhythm a little bit. He was avoiding a disaster when he got hurt. He was escaping a sack at the goal line. Near safety gets out of it, made a great play, and then the awkward tackle from Devin White lands awkwardly, stays down, tries to get up, goes back down, then has to limp, injury tent, cart, locker room, out, and it looks like he's going to be out for a long period of time. How do they weather this? Well, they weathered it today with Trevor Siemian. The question is, do they go forward with Trevor Siemian, or what I believe is going to happen, if he's healthy, I think it's Taysom Hill's turn in the driver's seat. He's been waiting for the opportunity. It's not the perfect way to get it, but this could be his ticket.
I want to go back to something you mentioned in there, that he dodged the sack, and it was one of several negative plays he avoided.
Yeah.
He had some big scrambles in this game. He made some decent throws. It was still very early, but he seemed dialed in. He seemed like he was, in that playmaking mode. He was in a rhythm, and I don't know how long we wonder it, or if we even wonder it, but I think I am, at least in the time, like, what could have been? Were we getting to a point where Jameis and the offense and Coach Payton and the playmakers, were we getting to a point where they were getting in sync? Were they coming together? How close was Michael Thomas? How close was this offense to being what you envisioned it could be at close to the top of Jameis Winston's potential? We don't know. And that's what kind of stings, and you can kind of tell that his teammates, his coaches, everybody was gutted by this. Mm-hmm. Sean Payton said he cried seeing it because Jameis worked so hard. You think of the competition in the summer and the work he put in, not just this past summer, but since he's gotten to New Orleans, to put himself in a position to earn the starting job and then earn it. You said it in the press box to me. The football gods are just not fair sometimes.
It's just not. It's brutal. And, Jameis humbled himself to come be a backup for a year. That's not easy to do when you're former #1 overall pick. He did it, and it all kind of aligned for him to come in, win the battle, win the competition, did it the right way, earned it on the field. And as I said, he wasn't perfect in the first 6 1/4 games that he played, but he was getting better. And I think, he had turned a corner in the sense that I think you were going to slowly start to see a little bit more trust, and Michael Thomas was coming back. But this is what I've always said, when you keep constantly waiting for health to get better, this football utopia health-wise that everyone seems to think was going to happen, you just can't count on that because it's such a brutal game. And within one play, your entire season can get thrown off. And right now, the season has been thrown off a little bit with Jameis Winston going down. However, in saying that, somehow this team is 5-2, and I keep waiting for this team to fall off, and they just keep winning.
Yeah.
And I'm just so I don't even know what to say right now, because is this a bad thing on the surface? Yes, but they've been dealing with bad things all season. Yet here they are, 5-2, and they're doing it all these different ways. It's been crazy paths, and yet here they are, 5-2. I don't know what to say. Is this a bad thing? It looks like it, but I mean they've managed a lot too.
Look, one thing it showed us is that this is a resilient team. They've been there before. Alvin Kamara talked about it after the game. This is the third year in a row when you go back to the Breeze thumb injury in 2019 and Bridgewater comes in, and then the Breeze ribs injury in 2020 and Taysom Hill comes in. And then this year with Jameis Winston, 3 years in a row, you lose your starter in the middle of a game. You're going to miss him for multiple games. And they found a way to weather it and get through the game and get into a positive situation. Obviously, we just saw them beat the Bucs, so we'll have to see how they continue going forward. They've got the Falcons in future weeks, but this is a team that's used to adversity, and this is a defense that, especially over the last few years, is used to saying, get on my back, we're going to make it, we're going to carry you through the rest of this game, and that's absolutely what they did against Tom Brady today.
Yeah, I didn't think they were perfect, but I thought they made timely plays when they had to. They gave up way too many explosive plays.
That's a better way of putting it, timely plays.
They didn't rush the passer as well as I thought they would, but they came up with big plays when they had to. That fumble, it was 7-7. They had just punted the ball back after Jameis had gotten hurt. Trevor came in for that half drive he was in, punted the ball back. Brady's moving the ball. They're on their side of the 50, and they dropped 8 on a play, and all of a sudden, the offensive lineman gets pushed into Brady. He fumbles. Onyemata recovers. From there, through their first drive in the second half, the Saints went up. It was 7-7, went up to 23-7 at that point. And then they close out the game, the defense does, obviously, with the big pick from P.J. Williams. Which, I don't care what anybody says. Everybody in that stadium was nervous at that point because
Absolutely.
they kind of botched the end of the previous drive. And I know Sean Payton, it's easy to talk yourself out of it now because they won the game, but there was a lot of time, and I'm going to say mismanaged at least one of those plays inside the 10. But nonetheless, P.J. Williams, by the way, how many teams would love to have their 6th DB on their roster be a guy like P.J. Williams? I mean, think about how much of a luxury that is. A guy like that can probably be a borderline starter in other places, is their 6th DB on this team. Plays corner, nickel, and free safety. Came up with the big pick.
Dude's been signing one-year contracts as long as I can remember and sticking around. I mean, he's been in the league as long as Jameis, really. They played together at Florida State. So that tells you how long P.J. Williams has been around. And, you know, he was asked after the game, but he has become a lot more comfortable in all of those roles, knowing he's only going to get X amount of snaps, but coming in and making plays when he does. And even as he pointed out, sometimes he might practice at one position during the week, whether that's safety or nickel or corner, and then all of a sudden plays a different position in the game just depending on the game flow, the matchup, or an injury. So that's certainly impressive. You put it there. You put it well there. Defense wasn't perfect, but they continue to give Tom Brady
they weren't going to be
fits.
perfect. I mean, this offense was too good. You knew they were going to have to take the ball away, and the offense was going to have to score. You weren't going to 13-10 your way to this victory. So, all things considered, I give them an A.
I would say so. I mean, you make the timely plays, you find ways to win, you find that path to victory, as I think we say like every week on this podcast. And they've done it to the tune of 5-2 now. That said, one thing we did talk to each other about on the field after the game is in terms of where this offense could go and where Jameis could go, like we don't know how close we were to the upside or if we were going to see it, right? But the way they won games leading up until today has been through some of that game managing, relying on your defense, running the ball. They had to open it up a little bit. Even Trevor Siemian made some plays down the field. And it was against a good Bucs team, a Bucs team that can completely take the run away against you. The Saints were pretty effective in that department. And a good offense and defense. They're the defending Super Bowl champs that brought just about everybody back. Going forward, it's still a tough schedule, right? You still got the Cowboys, you still got the Bills, you got matchup against the Falcons, Titans. Like it's not going to be easy. But I think, and I'm not trying to be a homer, but I think you can give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be well coached, whether it's Siemian at quarterback, whether it's Taysom Hill at quarterback. This is a team that knows week by week how to win. It's probably not going to be pretty. Like I would go out on a limb and say most of the games coming up are probably not going to be pretty if they're Saints wins, but they know how to do it because they've been here before in this find a way to win without our starting quarterback for years.
Yeah, and, you know, they've done a phenomenal job this year at honing in on the task at hand, meaning the game, and within the game, the situation at hand. Because if you're really going to look at their stats, they're not a 5-2 team, but they win exceptionally well in situational football. And when you win those situations that consistently, you are able to overcome some statistical, deficiencies in other areas to win games.
It's remarkable.
It's unbelievable.
Like even, I didn't look at the numbers, after this game or maybe even before this game, but I know going into Seattle, I think it was, they were 29th in yards per game and 9th in points per game. That's all situational.
Right, exactly.
That's red zone offense. That's red zone efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. And it's incredible that they've been able – usually that evens out over the NFL over the course of a season. You can probably get away with that in a tight window. But you're at the point now where the sample size is getting bigger. You're through 7 games, and yet here they are. In saying that, you now move into November. There's a clear-cut line, the good teams and the great teams. I still don't know where to put this team. I don't know where to put this team. They're 5-2. Are they a good 5-2? Well, what does that matter? They're 5-2.
Yeah. A lot of teams would rather be 5-2.
If they win next week, which is very possible against Atlanta, and Tampa's off, they're back atop the division at the halfway point with a team that has had game manager / now you're going to have a journeyman to finish this game. Maybe you'll have Taysom against basically, piecing together the quarterback position and a dominant run game. Well, most of the time a dominant run game, and a defense and just superior coaching and just, situational football. And it's been an unbelievable ride. I mean, it feels like it's been a longer season than they've only through 7 games, and yet here they are. Hats off to Trevor Siemian. I thought he looked poised. I thought he looked prepared. He got away with a few throws. He missed a few throws, bad misses. But in the end, it wasn't the deer in headlights look. He was pretty calm. And Sean Payton said it best after. He goes, when you're a backup like that, you have to memorize the game plan and be ready. And it could be 3 years before you get that opportunity. But now, the 12:44 mark in your Week 8 matchup against the Super Bowl champs, our guy goes down. Guess what? You got to go in. You got to be the guy. He did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take it. 16 of 29, 159 and a touchdown, and was unafraid to throw the ball. So.
Maybe it even worked in their advantage a little bit only because, the Bucs had some tendencies and some things they wanted to do on defense that they knew they could attack Jameis Winston with.
I think it rattled him a little bit when he came in.
Yeah, it's just like there's no way, Trevor Siemian's about to throw this deep ball to Kevin White.
Right.
And he throws a deep ball to Kevin White. I mean, there are things that catch you off guard. One thing that I think gets overlooked is the Mark Ingram factor. Like at one point I was thinking I was going to do a Mark Ingram story for the final play tonight. It was significant. He ran the ball well. He caught a screen that went for a big gain. I mean, it looked like he never left.
Yeah.
But it gets overlooked because of everything that happened. But I think it is still significant today and going forward that Ingram, they had no problem spelling Kamara on any down they needed to because you know what you got in that guy, and he came back, and whether that was adrenaline of your first game back or what, you pointed it out in a film study this week. I mean, Ingram still does some things well enough to give the Saints exactly what they need.
And he's an upgrade over Tony Jones. He's an upgrade over Dwayne
Absolutely.
Washington. Taysom was playing the hybrid role. So as your number 2 back, he gave you 6 carries and he gave you 2 catches. I said it was going to be between 8 and 10 touches. He had 8. And he's comfortable in that role now. He's an upgrade, and you got him for free, basically, a 7th-round pick in 2024. So another strong presence in the locker room as well when times get tough. So hats off. That's a good deal. I mean, I thought he gave him exactly what I expected. It was 6 carries, 27 yards, 4.5 a carry, 2 catches, 25 yards. So I'll take that from your number 2 back.
Absolutely. Before we go, a quick question from the Final Word feature in our Final Play app. This question comes from Terrence. This question probably comes from all of Saints Twitter, as Sean Fazende points out. Do you think Ian Book would get playing time, and how long will Winston be out? To answer the last question first, it's going to be probably a significant amount of time for Jameis. It's just everything that has been reported does not sound good.
Yeah.
But I don't think Ian Book is going to get much playing time.
I think there probably needs to be there would probably have to be another injury or 2 for that to happen. He hasn't even been active. Now, you could say that, that could be a roster thing here and there, but And like I thought he had a pretty good training camp. I thought he had a couple nice practices. Will he start a game for the Saints this year? I think a few more things, bad things, would have to happen before that situation would present itself. I understand Saints Twitter loves him. I watched every single practice with him over training camp. He did get better. It wasn't too big for him. I understand why this coaches like him, but I think it's telling that he hasn't been active yet. I mean, I just think they've gone with Trevor Siemian for precisely this reason, which you saw today. Because I thought Ian Book played better than Trevor Siemian in training camp. I really did. But Trevor Siemian had 25 starts, 12 career wins, third-string quarterback. You're not going to get much better than that. So when at the 12:44 mark of the second quarter, your starter goes down, I can turn to a guy that's going to be pretty even-keeled, pretty calm. And guess what? He's going to do enough to help guide the team to victory. That's why he's active over Ian Book. Now, in saying that, Book may move into the what would he be now? Would he be the number 2? Would he be the 3? Depending on what they do with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, it depends on what you do with Taysom.
He would have to get called up if they don't sign another guy.
Yeah, if Taysom is going to be your starter going forward, if he comes back from injury, then Siemian becomes your 2. But we've pointed this out in years past. I mean, like last year, if Jameis was the backup after Breeze went down, then Siemian would have been the 2 because Taysom would have stayed in his jack-of-all-trades role.
In game. That's Peyton confirmed that today.
And so in that game, yes, but now going forward, he did say, Taysom
going forward with
would
a
be
full
the
game
starter.
plan to start, right, exactly.
Yeah, so look, buckle up. Falcons at home next week. Then you're on the road at Tennessee, difficult game. Then at Philly, and then Thanksgiving against the Buffalo Bills. So, look, it's been a wild ride with Jameis Winston. It's going to continue to be a wild ride without Jameis Winston. This team has never been anything short of entertaining, though, in 2021. That's going to do it for us. But before you guys go, a quick request and reminder, please subscribe to the podcast. Also, rate and review it and tell your friends to help us spread the word. And if you want to get in touch with us, pick up your phone, download the Final Play app, hit the Final Word Feature tab, type away. We've got several more. We will get to those on the Black and Gold Review Show on Monday evening with Deuce McAllister. That'll do it for us. We will talk to you next time on Overtime.